Hi everybody, this is Ollie Cantos here, and I'd like to start by congratulating those of you who have just joined our list, and it's really exciting to have you aboard, and I look forward to getting to know you as time progresses. And so today, for this installment of the Visionary series, I'd like to talk with all of you about the myth of failure with regard to how people typically look at the role of mistakes in our lives. Of course, we as perfectionists, we always like doing things the right way, and ideally we'd love to do them the right way the first time. But in reality, that is frequently, or most of the time, it's not what normally happens. And so what many people do in our business, as well as in any other niche, and you may have done this yourself, think about this if you've done this, that what many people do is they end up putting themselves in a situation where they expect themselves to do well right away without making any mistakes initially, and then if their initial efforts don't work, it then results in their saying, well, it's not me, it's the business just doesn't work, or it's a scam, it has to be a scam because I tried it and it didn't work for me. Or they decide to say, well, I tried it and I failed. I tried for a week or a month, and you know, it just I just keep making these mistakes. It's not me. This darn thing just doesn't work. Okay, if you've fallen into that, if part of you at all matches that description, I wanted to talk to you today about the real role of mistakes. So frequently, many of us, including me, have had, at least I used to have, the thought in my mind and the sentiment that I was so afraid of making a mistake that when I did try something, and whenever I made a mistake, I would beat myself up for it so much to the point where I would just paralyze myself into not taking any further action. Or there would be times when I'd say, well, I'm going to wait and I'm going to study something, and I'm going to study it as long as I can until I've studied it and studied it and studied it, and then I'll get involved once I've learned everything there is to know. And so today, I'd like to tell you that if we were to modify that mindset instead toward one geared toward taking action, that is the significant and critical difference. Because when you take action, and when you do so knowing that mistakes will come at some point, then whenever you make any mistakes, and you already expect that making a mistake is part of the process, you don't beat yourself up for it. So frequently, people are so afraid of failure that whenever they make a mistake, they beat themselves up for it, and because of beating themselves up for it, they choose not to do any more because they're afraid of messing up. And if at any point they don't do things perfectly, then they choose not to continue to move forward, and they do that by not taking any further action. We've all done that. But one thing that I learned as part of our business, with being part of the Empower Network and specifically within the Prosperity team, is that mistakes are part of the growth process. And when I realized that, and that actually doesn't just apply to whatever business you're in or whatever business I'm in, it applies to life. That when we understand that mistakes are part of the process, we then may embrace the mistakes for the value that they bring to our lives. Of course, we would rather not make the mistakes at all. But, of course, you've seen this in your own lives. We inevitably do make mistakes. So rather than be paralyzed by those mistakes, instead, if we accept those as part of how we learn, then here's the better process in which to engage. We take action, and then when we take action, we make mistakes, and then once we make those mistakes and we have failed at a particular attempt, We learn from those mistakes actively and not feeling horrible that we made the mistake, but we learn from the mistakes. And once we're done learning from the mistakes, we modify our approach just a little bit the next time based on the lesson that we just learned, and we try again. And when we make a mistake the next time, then we try again, we modify our approach until ultimately we master a specific skill. Then, as we master that skill, we move on to the next thing. And so, I'm sure that some of you out there might be thinking, well, gosh, you know, we keep hearing about success, and you know, but the thing is, well, what if I fail? What if I try and it doesn't work? Well, my answer to you is to provide you with specific illustrations of how this works in practical life. Not even having to do with business, just in practical life. Just for a second, let's just talk about that. When a rocket travels to the moon, and you can check with this at nasa.gov, nasa.gov, you'll see more about the details there. When a rocket travels to the moon, it is off course 99% of the time. But that 1% of the time, the rocket makes course corrections along the way. Because when a rocket heads towards space and heads toward the moon, it might, just by looking at where the moon is, people may be tempted to say, well, I know right where the moon is, it's just right there, and just head toward it. But if they're not careful and they don't make course corrections, they might be thinking that they're heading right for the moon, when actually, with a particular course they're taking, the rocket might actually be heading in a trajectory where they'll end up missing the moon. But of course that didn't happen because along the way they make course corrections. In other words, they make mistakes. If we were to apply the failure way of thinking to the situation with the rocket, then we'd never take off at all, because we'd say, well, we need to make sure that our calculations are 100% correct before we ever leave the ground. And then ultimately later, then we will finally take off in the rocket. Well, of course there's preparation that takes place with a rocket, but they also know how to correct their mistakes. Because there are a lot of factors that could come into play with that. It could be the orbit of the Earth, of where the Earth is, the angle of the rocket with wherever it's pointing. It also has to do with the orbit of the moon. And so with all of those factors in mind, it's literally a moving target. So utilizing that as an example, mistakes and action is critical along the way with correcting ourselves, so that way when mistakes are made, we work to correct the mistakes till we ultimately get to our goal. That's one example. Another famous example that all of you I know have heard is Thomas Edison. With inventing the light bulb, he just kept trying, and he made the attempt. With inventing the light bulb, he made more than 10,000 attempts. But he viewed each attempt as bringing him closer to achieving his goals. And the goal in this case was inventing and perfecting the light bulb. And it's the very same mentality and mindset that we need to do whenever we are running our respective businesses. Let's take another example. Think about any specific occupation, whether it is a bus operator or an attorney or a doctor or an engineer or a school teacher, or fill in the blank, whatever the occupation happens to be. Look for somebody who is seasoned in that profession. Ask that person if he or she has ever made any mistakes. I bet you anything that when you ask the person and the person tells you honestly, the individual will tell you that he or she did make mistakes, but having learned from the mistakes, that person ended up doing better, so that way the things that used to be mistakes in the past are no longer mistakes now, because they learned from it, they became stronger, and they knew how to refine their skill. It's the same thing here. Do not allow yourselves, with running our business or running any other business, do not allow yourselves to be paralyzed by fear of making a mistake. Don't do it, because if that is your standard, where you must do things perfectly each time, or if you don't do it perfectly, then you're never going to succeed at this business, you will find yourselves in positions of frustration 100% of the time, because every time you try something, and if it doesn't work for the first little while and you just give up on it, you'll keep jumping from the next thing to the next thing, and yet success will be elusive wherever you go. You could jump from business to business, try different things, but if you continue to be frustrated about mistakes you make, and doing so in a way where you beat yourself up for the mistakes you make rather than learning from the mistakes that you make, then you will remain in a situation where you end up not succeeding at all. And instead, if you were to look at your businesses a different way, to understand that mistake is part of the process, then it will completely change everything. So keep that in mind as you move forward, whether you are in our business or whether you are in any other business, that mistakes are part of the process. So the question is, how long do you make mistakes? Once you join any business, my answer to you, you constantly make mistakes at different times, but as you learn from them, you move yourselves to higher and higher levels. And as you do, the things that used to be hard become easy, and with the new level of activity at which you place yourselves because of daily consistent action, you're at a brand new level where you make new mistakes, and then when you learn from those mistakes, you bring yourselves to a higher level. But all the while, you continue to attain greater and greater success at higher and higher levels, and you continue increasing your belief in your ability because of the success that you have. It's all a matter ultimately of how you see yourselves. Every single person has setbacks, every single one of us, no matter who we are. And so in understanding that we each have setbacks, we need to embrace what the struggles bring to us. Because if we don't, and if we paralyze ourselves in thinking, gosh, I tried this and it didn't work, or I tried this specific endeavor and I made a series of decisions and they turned out to be wrong, and I lost time, or I lost money, or whatever the situation was. Well, gosh.
Do you want this stop right here? Whoever ring the bell. Oh, you.
Pentagon City would be. And so, when it comes to all of this, I just want you to realize all of this, because once you do, that can unlock the key to your success. You just have to persist. We always talk about persistence, but psychologically, if we beat ourselves up for the mistakes we make, we destroy our chances of success before we even have a chance barely to get started. We all know that when a child tries to walk and they fall, or they try to crawl and they stumble, or and they're not able to crawl very well, or they try to walk, they take their first few steps and they fall. You don't just say to the child, oh, well, I guess that's it. Don't try walking anymore. Of course, the toddler, you help the toddler by encouraging him or her and giving him or her all the encouragement needed so that the child ultimately learns how to walk, and then learns how to walk faster, and then learns how to run. It's the same thing here. And by the way, that is the same whether you are in our business or in any other. It's the same thing. So here are my action assignments for today. First thing, get the book, The 5 Habits of Effective Thinking. You can get it at Amazon. You can also get it on iTunes. I highly recommend the book. And it talks about all of this in greater detail. That's my first action assignment for you today. Get the 5 habits of effective thinking. And within that, once you get the book, the first time around you read the book, and this is what it tells you. You read the book once, all the way through, just understand its concepts. And then the second time around, you read it, but you start applying what it tells you. And the third time you read it, you go through it in more detail. And that's how to use that book. You don't just read it passively. You read it passively first, but after that, then you take action on it when you go through it the second time around. And here's the second action assignment. Based on everything I've told you too, I want you to join the business. I want you to not be afraid. I want you to take action right now, knowing that you will make mistakes along the way. I'm telling it to you straight. You will make mistakes along the way. We all do. But knowing that because of the system that we have in place, your chances of success are going to be even greater because of your persistence in getting done what you need to get done. Thank you so much.
Are you going to the train?
Nope.
Okay, watch your step.
Thanks.
You're not at the curb. You got about 5 feet.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So, it's important. So the second action step is join me in this journey together that we have together. Join me at the next level. Join me in this business. Click on the link at the bottom of this page. Get involved with us. And I mean right now. Don't wait another minute. Do it right now. Because when you get involved with our business, you will learn internet marketing through the system that we that we've already put into place. When you do it, and you do it with a belief in yourself, knowing that there's not only a system, but a whole team of people who believe in you, you will make it in this business when you persist. I cannot tell you the kind of money you're going to make in this business. But what I can tell you is that we will be here for you, and when you apply the right level of persistence combined with being consistent and doing what we tell you to do along the way, I believe that you have the ability to succeed. But you are the one to make the ultimate call, and you are the one to be the ultimate determiner of your success in this or any business. But I want you to join us. It's an incredible business. You can literally build this while on a bus. Heck, I was just on a bus and I'm building this business talking to you. How cool is that? Where else could you build a business from a bus? Incredible. We show you how to do all the stuff. So that's the second action assignment. So the first thing, get the book, The 5 Habits of Effective Thinking. And the second thing, I want you to join this business. Remembering the value of mistakes and knowing that any past failures need not hold you back when you apply the lessons and when you don't beat yourselves up for the mistakes you made, but instead leveraging the mistakes you've made so that you can learn from them now by modifying your approach and doing a spectacular job. You can do it. So that's it for today. I will talk to you soon, everybody, and you take good care, and thanks for watching.